Well, I hope you are enjoying your meal. If you've already enjoyed it, I know it was good because I did, and if you haven't yet, they're still making their way around. If you guys can make your way back to your seats, we're going to get started a little bit more with our formal programming now. I actually want to guide your attention up to the screens because as the PCC has continued to grow over the years, there's been some retirements. There's been some staff additions, and so we recorded a quick video for you to catch all that's been going on. So let me go ahead and direct you up to the screens and take a look at this.
All right, so you remember what we're doing here?
Okay, so I know nothing. I look right at you?
Yep.
Okay.
How's that?
I'm dreading this so bad.
I am Becca, and I'm the Executive Director here at the Pregnancy Care Center.
Yeah, my name is Darlene Morris, and I'm an RN, and I work with Melissa Ward.
My name is Jean Altland, and at the Pregnancy Care Center, I onboard new volunteers and get them started.
Okay, I'm Jen. I am our Client Services Director.
My name is Karen No, and it's my honor to serve as Director of Development at the Pregnancy Care Center.
My name is Phil Kleinfelder. My responsibilities here at the Pregnancy Care Center are Director of the Men of Honor program.
All right, my name is Kate Hopek, and I am the Assistant Director for the Pregnancy Care Center, and I also oversee all of the abstinence education programs.
I am Melissa Ward, and my role at the Pregnancy Care Center is the nurse manager.
Melissa is very sweet. She's easy to work with, and she is very funny.
Darlene is like the person that you want to take on a road trip with you. She is so much fun, and she's up for anything, and she's just a blast to be around.
Describe to me what it's like working with Karen.
She's very kind and soft-spoken, very easy to get along with, very spiritual.
Karen is kind of like my mom.
Karen is very knowledgeable about PCC and a good friend.
How does anyone describe Phil?
I mean, the reality is you just never know what you're going to get with Phil. He digs graves, and
Phil's a really unusual guy because he's working with a bunch of women.
Describe Becca in 2 words.
Do you want the 2 words that are coming to my mind? Holy smokes!
What is your best Becca impression?
Guys, I have an idea.
I can't laugh like her. If I could do her laugh.
I feel bad for the staff because I am like going 150 miles per hour all the time.
I don't really work with Kate too much because she's in a business office part.
Kate is fun and efficient.
Jean has a lot of experience. She knows what she wants. She's not afraid to say what she wants, and she is really great with the volunteers and the different people that come in.
What are your honest feelings about working with a whole group of women?
That's been my life. I have 4 daughters. I was a dairy farmer working with female cows for 40 plus years. It's just how I do life.
Oh my goodness, Jen's biggest quirk. She is like a fairy godmother. I swear she has a magic wand and she can just wave it. She's the most fun person ever.
Jen's a little, gosh, that's like working on a roller coaster.
This is what I think about Jen. She brought a whole nother level of crazy to the work atmosphere from me.
You know, the people we see, like, they just need love done, and the biggest part of my job is just making sure that when they come in, they have a positive experience with us. So it's super important that when they come in, that we just get to love on them and show them that they matter.
So the thing that I love about our staff is, in this work environment, you know, it can get really heavy at times, but we always try to find ways to have fun and to lift each other up. And we all have an individual story. And there's a reason why we work here. This is not just a job for any person that works here at the center. We all have our why. We all have a reason why we come here every single day.
I started volunteering at the Pregnancy Care Center about a little over a year and a half ago. So in my head, I thought I was just coming to be a client advocate, but God had other plans. So I went to the ultrasound training, and now a little over a year and a half, I'm here as the nurse manager. My first time coming to the Pregnancy Care Center was 23 years ago. I was 16 with an unexpected pregnancy. I was in an unhealthy relationship, and I ended up pregnant. And I just remember feeling like I had let everybody down. During that time, I had some that were super supportive, and I had others that quite literally begged me to get an abortion. I had all of these voices just coming at me all at once. But I knew in my heart that God had placed that little life inside of me for a purpose. So my mom had heard about the Pregnancy Care Center, and she just encouraged me to go see what they're about. Maybe they can help support you in some way. So I went down to the Pregnancy Care Center. I went in, did a self-administering pregnancy test, and I met with a sweet client advocate, and her name was Martha. And she was such an encouragement to me. She loved on me, she spoke truth to me, and she was just somebody on the outside that could just be a support to me. So that's why I thought originally I'd be a client advocate here. So my mom and stepdad, they were involved in a small group at their church at the time. So I knew that people were praying for me and my situation. The pastor's wife was in their small group, and she asked if she could videotape my labor. And I know it's kind of weird, but we said, okay. So she showed up at the hospital whenever I was in labor, and she actually brought with her 2 of her children. Her son, Caleb, and her daughter, Hillary, and they were both teenagers at the time. Fast forward 6 years later, Caleb, her son, actually became my husband. And God did just an amazing thing at bringing a man of God into my son's life and into my life. For the first 19 years of my life, I tried to do things my own way. I specifically remember when I was 19 coming to a place of surrender. And in that, my prayer for my son was that he would have a dad that loved him like his own. And God answered that prayer in a mighty way. So my husband Caleb ended up adopting my son a year after we got married, and his biological father, my son's biological father, was in his life the best that he was able to be. He loved him the best that he could. He struggled with addiction, and it ended up taking his life when my son was 10. But the amazing thing is that not only did God bring somebody into my life that loved my son and adopted my son, but he literally was there since my son's birth. And only God can do that. So I know when these women and when these young girls come into the Pregnancy Care Center, I get the struggle that's going on. I get all the thoughts and all the voices that are coming at them. And I can look at them in the eyes, and I can speak from a place of I've been there, and I can speak from a place of hope that's only found in Jesus Christ. And it's just amazing to see what God has done, how he's brought just all of my mess in full circle, and he's using it to bring glory to him, and he's using it to bring redemption, and he's taken my obstacles and he's turned them into opportunities.
Good evening. I am Sharon Mark Anthony. I am the medical director of the Pregnancy Care Center. I am an OBGYN here in Worcester at Worcester Community Hospital with Bloomington Women's Care. And Becca asked me to just introduce myself so that way you know I'm the one that reads the ultrasounds and signs off on the medications. And I'll tell you what, this is an incredible ministry that I've been able to be a part of this last year. And I can't tell you, as a woman who serves this community and the women and the families of this community, to be able to have a resource like the Pregnancy Care Center, it's unique. And we need more faith-based resources for families that have that same mission. The mission of the Pregnancy Care Center is to engage, equip, and empower. And for myself personally, I've devoted my life to women's health. The last 16 years as an OBGYN, ask my husband, I spent a lot more hours at work, unfortunately, than I do at home, but it's quality, not quantity. And if I'm not at home, it's because I'm spending my life's purpose giving to others and being the hands and feet of Jesus. And being able to show someone love speaks so much louder than those words that you speak. Because you can't just tell someone that you love them and that Jesus loves them. You have to show them. You have to provide for them. And I'll never forget, I had a 15-year-old couple that both the teens were coming to my office for a teenage unplanned pregnancy. And we were talking about classes, and we were talking about childbirth classes. And God loved this 15-year-old boy. He's like, okay, so childbirth, that's only gonna last like a day, right? I have to be a parent the rest of my life. Where are the parenting classes? And I was like, I got you. But isn't that the truth? Parenthood is one of the scariest, most amazing and rewarding times of life. And our Father teaches us as Christians how to best show love to our children. And so being able to have a resource that engages, equips, and empowers the families of our community when they're going into that scary time of parenthood that they were not planning, and being able to provide the diapers, the wipes, the clothes, and to teach them how to have healthy relationships with their kids when they may not have gotten that at home. We have no idea where they came from or what brought them to the doors of that center, but I'm very thankful every day that I was given this opportunity to partner with this center, and I look forward to many years to come. So, thank you. And at this time, we will be announcing our Friends for Life Award.
Hi, everyone.
Well, goody. A round of applause already. That's incredible. Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Matt Yost, and I have the privilege of serving as the chairman of the board for the Pregnancy Care Center. Up here on stage tonight is a young man that many of you may recognize, but for those who don't, this is my friend Victor. Now, Victor, it's been about a year since the people in the audience have heard from you. Can you share with us what you've been up to?
Well, my favorite sport is soccer, and my team is pretty good. And in school, I'm learning how to write in cursive, and for social studies, timelines. And I went to the lake and park, like the Freelander.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you've had a really good year, huh? And you're in
Yep.
4th grade, right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, Victor, each year we present an award to an individual or to a business who has been an advocate for the Pregnancy Care Center. And I know this award means a lot to you. Can you share with us why that is?
10 years ago, my mommy was pregnant with me, and and her doctors told her to have an abortion, but my mommy didn't want to, so she went to the pregnancy care center to get help, and because of the pregnancy care center, she chose to continue with her pregnancy, and I love my life.
Well, that's great, Victor. Thanks for sharing that. Each year, the board and the staff choose a recipient for our Friends for Life award, and this year we actually have 2 recipients that are going to receive it. The first recipient is an organization that has been a supporter of ours since the very beginning in 1984. They've not only supported our organization financially, but they've supported us through special outreach projects, through the baby bottle campaign, and they've sent countless volunteers our way over the last 40 years. In fact, they even hosted our banquet quite a few times. Victor, do you want to take any guesses on how much they have contributed to our organization?
A lot?
Spot on. A lot. In fact, they are our largest financial contributor since we started 40 years ago. So, Victor, this year's first award goes to, can you give me a drum roll?
Grace Church.
Grace Church. Nick Cleveland, would you come on up? Nick, thank you. We're going to pose for a picture right there. Victor, see the... Can you stay up here for just a second? Since 1984, Grace Church has been a critical partner in the ministry that we have here at the Pregnancy Care Center. And tonight we want to show our gratitude for their support over the last 40 years. You may remember that a number of years ago, the actual founding members of the Pregnancy Care Center received the Friends for Life Award, and they happen to be from Grace Church as well. But tonight we want to recognize the church as a whole, and I know there are quite a few members and attenders of Grace Church in the audience tonight, so thank you sincerely for your support. Thank you.
Matt, are you ready to do the next one?
Let's do the next one. So what's neat about the next recipient of the Friends for Life Award is that because of the support of Grace Church, this individual actually became aware of the work that we do. When we launched our building campaign back in 2020, Grace Church chose the Pregnancy Care Center to receive a special offering at Christmas time, and through that promotion, this individual became passionate about helping as well. Not only did this individual become passionate about helping, but he also included his employer and encouraged them, and they together have become very special friends of the Pregnancy Care Center. So,
Matt, drum rolls.
oh, me? Okay.
Yes. Matt Keeler.
Can you come over here and get a photo real quick? She's right there. Just not necessary. Just hang out up here 1 second if you would. So Matt, I want to thank you for being a great friend to the Pregnancy Care Center. And you all should know that Matt's friendship goes beyond just financial support. He's a special advisor to our team. He's someone that our staff can call if they need advice or if they have questions. His family loves the work that we do here, and he continually supports us. So Matt, on behalf of the board and the staff, thank you for being an advocate for life. And Victor, thank you for helping me with these awards. Let's give Victor a round of applause.
You are welcome, Matt.
At this time, I'd like to introduce another friend for life. Peter Range is the director and the CEO of Ohio Right to Life. Prior to working in that capacity, he served as the director of the Office for Life and Justice of Catholic Charities in the Diocese of Toledo. He even hosts his own radio show called Say Yes to Life. All eyes will be on Ohio next month, and we've invited Peter here tonight to share with you the importance of heading to the polls. Folks, you're in for a treat here. Please help me welcome Peter Range.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Folks, I travel the state to events of this nature, and so I get to meet a lot of tremendous people and a lot of tremendous individuals who lead our pregnancy center networks across the state. But the leadership that you have here is unmatched. Can we give a round of applause to Becca and her leadership? This is amazing. 800 people here. Really tremendous. I have a slideshow for you tonight, so hopefully this will work as I kind of click through things here tonight. But I always start kind of with this quote. So I'll be speaking for about 15 minutes, just kind of giving you a background on what's going on here in the state of Ohio here this November. And this quote is actually from 1976. But I think it's quite apt for our time period right now in human history in our tremendous state. It says, we are now facing the final confrontation between the church and the anti-church, the gospel versus the anti-gospel. This confrontation lies within the plans of divine providence. It is a trial which the whole church must take up. That's each and every one of us in this room. We have to take up this fight this November. Now, as I travel the state, I don't do so as the CEO of Ohio Right to Life. As much as I love my organization, I am traveling the state as a husband and as a father because I care about the future of our great state, because I care about the future of my kids. So I've got 4 little ones. You can see them there in the picture there. They are 7, 5, 3, and 1, which means last night I was up at 7, 5, 3, and 1. You guys know how that goes, but I love these kids to death, and quite frankly, I'd rather be with them tonight. But this is so important that I'm here, that you get to hear this message so that you know to vote no on issue 1 this November, and you can educate all your family, your friends, your neighbors, your coworkers to do the same, because we are in the fight for our life. So I want to encourage you. We got 35 days or so before the election, to wake up every morning and just ask the Lord, how are you calling me to say yes to life? Yes to Life is the name of the radio show that I helped to run here across the state of Ohio, and it's based upon my father's story. My father was actually twice paralyzed in his life from the neck down. The first paralyzation happened at age 11. He contracted the polio virus 3 weeks before he was going to be vaccinated with the polio vaccine. Thankfully, he regained some of that use of his right arm, about 50%, and it would literally take him 50 minutes just to put his pants on in the morning. But he learned to do so. Make a long story short, he went to the University of Illinois, he got his master's in journalism, moved to Cleveland, Ohio, where he's working for the Cleveland Plain Dealer. One night, he was getting a ride home from a buddy. They got into a car accident right on the Shoreway in Cleveland. He was taken to St. John's West Shore Hospital. That was a Catholic hospital. They're smack dab in between a Catholic hospital and a Protestant hospital. And the policemen were literally standing above my father saying, hey, where do you want to go? And my dad, who was nominally Catholic at the time, said, well, take me to the Catholic hospital. So he goes to St. John's, and the nurse assigned to his room was Mary Jean Cook. They met, they fell in love, and married a year later. Your life can turn on a dime just like that. So Dad used to like to joke, if he would have gone to the Protestant hospital, he would have married a nice Protestant girl. With that being said, he got the good Catholic, so. God rest his soul. Dad, I love you. 6 kids later, I was the 5th out of 6 kids. My dad had taken a job down at the Dayton Daily News, so we were living in Dayton, Ohio. But Dad was suffering from severe depression, anxiety. It got so bad he was thinking about taking his own life. Thankfully, my mom intervened and made him go see a psychiatrist, which he did. And the psychiatrist was wonderful for him, helping him with the different issues he had struggled with being a paraplegic through his entire life. But she prescribed him medication to help him fall asleep at night. Now, it was FDA approved and everything, but it was being made illegally by the company. They had no idea. It killed thousands, injured thousands more, and reparalyzed my father again from the neck down. So any ability he had to pick up a fork and feed himself or, take a drink, as we all have done tonight, my dad lost that. The last 26 years of his life, completely dependent upon my mom and us 6 kids for his every single need. But despite the fact that he couldn't, stand up and embrace his wife of 40 years and dance with her in the kitchen, or go out and play catch with one of his 4 boys or 2 girls, every morning my father woke up and he said, yes, yes to life. That's the great work of this pregnancy center here. You guys are enabling others, empowering moms and dads to say yes to life. What a gift. What a gift, a tremendous gift that is to be a part of this ministry here. So for these last couple minutes here, this is what I'm going to lay out for you. What we're facing here in the state of Ohio, our current situation, what our response has been, and then lastly, and maybe most importantly tonight, how you can help. So the current situation is this. Since the fall of Roe v. Wade, blessed be God, there has been these ballot initiatives taking place across the country, some led by the pro-life side and some led by the pro-choice side. But it doesn't matter who they've been led by, the pro-life side has lost 6 times. So we are 0 for 6. That means in 2024, there's going to be 11 states now with ballot initiatives on their citizen ballot that the citizens will be voting on. But there's only one state in 2023 that's going to be voting on this citizen-led initiative, and it's us here in the state of Ohio. The left feels like they can come into a red state, a conservative state, and flip all of our abortion laws and nullify them. So the groups behind this, it's Planned Parenthood, it's the ACLU, and a group called URGE. You may have never heard of them before, but they are for United for Reproductive and Gender Equality. They are for, if you read their own Twitter account, celebrating all abortions with no exceptions. They believe all parental involvement laws are unethical and must be abolished. And they are against allowing school personnel to tell the parents of the kids who are struggling with gender dysphoria whether or not their child is struggling in school or not. This is a very dangerous group, to say the least. So what's at stake? If we lose this November, it will mean the elimination of parental rights and consent in the state of Ohio. So you could have a 14-year-old daughter who's maybe being pressured into an abortion. She could be taken to a Planned Parenthood, have that abortion, and you as a parent would never even be notified or consent to it at all. Not only that, it would allow for painful, late-term abortions on demand through all 9 months of pregnancy here in our great state. We would become like California and New York. And it would eliminate health and safety standards for women. And eventually as well, it's going to attack our pregnancy centers, forcing them to refer for abortions. Because if the right to reproductive freedom becomes a constitutional right, nothing can stand in its way. Now, why do I make these claims? If you look at the language of the amendment, the other side is saying, hey, go read the language of the amendment, to which we're saying, yes, please, go read the language of the amendment. It says that every individual has a right to make and carry out one's own reproductive decisions, and then it lists a bunch of things which are, quite frankly, already legal here in the state of Ohio. Miscarriage care, every woman across the nation can get miscarriage care, yet in their first commercial, they're telling women that they won't be able to get miscarriage care here in the state of Ohio. They are simply lying. There's no other way around it. But if you look at the language, nowhere in the document does it say woman or mother at all. It says rather every individual has a right to make and carry out one's own reproductive decisions. Why do they do that? Well, an individual is a legal term. That means anyone of any age and anyone of any gender. So Planned Parenthood has become the second leading provider of cross-sex hormones in the country. So you might have a 13-year-old, they're struggling with gender dysphoria. Maybe that school teacher can take that student then to Planned Parenthood and start them on those transitioning drugs without parents' knowledge or consent. Now, when we look at parental consent, we can see through court cases that these groups have been against them in the court of law. And it's also on their own, again, Twitter and social media accounts. Now, why do we say it's abortion through all 9 months of pregnancy? Again, if you go to the language, they say that the treating physician, if they deem it necessary, that this is needed to save the mom's life or health. Now, the key term there is health. That is a legal term. In Doe v. Bolton, which was Roe's companion case, health was deemed to mean all factors: physical, emotional, psychological. So the treating physician in this case is who? It's the abortion doctor. So how do you think he's going to rule in a case where maybe someone who's 7 months pregnant, maybe she just lost her job or that her husband did, and she's emotionally distressed? Under the language of this amendment, that emotional distress is enough for a fully formed baby to be ripped apart in its mother's womb. We don't want this here in the state of Ohio. Now, when it comes to health and safety standards, again, it just simply goes to the language of the amendment. There was an undue burden standard that was set in Planned Parenthood versus Casey that said there could be abortion restrictions as long as it didn't put an undue burden on a woman accessing her reproductive rights. Now, they simply dropped the undue standard and they just put burden in the amendment. So anything that penalizes, burdens a woman from accessing this constitutionally given right can be done away with. 24-hour waiting period? Nope, not good. We're going to do away with that. A transfer agreement with a local hospital to ensure women's safety. Nope, that will be done away with as well. But notice in the language of the amendment, it protects anyone who is assisting another individual in exercising their constitutional right. So who is an individual who could be assisting another individual in exercising their constitutional right? Could that be the soccer coach who's assisting his young teenage player on the team to get an abortion? That's all he's doing. He's assisting her in accessing her constitutional right under the language of this amendment. This is too radical. It goes too far for us here in the state of Ohio. So there's a lot of great resources and articles on protectwomenohio.com. There's going to be resources on a table outside of here tonight, as well as vote no signs on issue 1. Please grab some of those resources, take them home with you tonight. Now, when we look at our response here in the state of Ohio, just very briefly, we brought together the pro-life movement, and we have some of the best political operatives, quite frankly, in the nation who are working on our campaign, as well as coalition groups from across the state of Ohio. But we need your help. And so, again, these resources can all be made available to you if you go to protectwomenohio.com. Now, I want to give you the bad news. If we do nothing moving forward tonight, all of you, and you just kind of allow this to be just a speech and that's it, we're going to lose this election. We're working with the same pollster who helps with President Donald Trump as well as Senator J.D. Vance here in the state of Ohio. And when you look at our numbers, right now the polling shows it's 51% for the yes side and 36% for the no. Why is this? Well, when you just look at the evangelical vote, for example, we are only 15 points ahead. We need to be 30 to 40% points ahead. So that's the bad news. The good news is when those same evangelical voters know that this allows for painful late-term abortion on demand, that it takes away parental rights, those numbers flip, and over 70% of evangelicals say, well, we don't want that in our amendment, including even those who identify as progressives and liberals. Over 60% of those individuals, once they learn what's in the amendment, they say, well, we don't want that. So this is simply a matter, can we get the message out there? That's why we need you to be the army. To go home tonight, you've got 5 fingers on your hand, text 5 people tonight. Tell them to vote no and tell them why. Send them to protectwomenohio.com so they can learn more about the resources. So in summary, when we look at the polling, 25% of those who are voting yes on this amendment, they identify as pro-life. They just haven't heard about the amendment. So they need you to be the heralds, the angels of this message to get the truth out there. So in the last 2 minutes that I have, let me just finish up with kind of moving forward how you can help, because this is so incredibly crucial for us. First and foremost, folks, this is a spiritual battle. I want to invite each and every one of you here tonight to repent, to ask the Lord for forgiveness for your own personal sins, to ask the Lord to heal you with his grace and his mercy that he wants to pour out upon you. We as a nation are in need of repentance. We're killing kids to the tune of 1 million a year. A nation will not survive that murders its children. We have to pray. So join me every morning and every evening at 7:14 a.m. and 7:14 p.m. and pray with me in the spirit of 2 Chronicles 7:14, which says, "If my people who are called by my name humble themselves, pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven, I will forgive their sin, and I will heal their land." Secondly, we need boots on the ground to go door to door. Again, pick up some of that information tonight. You can learn how you can be a part of our army to knock on doors across the state of Ohio. And if you can't get out and knock on doors, you can phone bank from your house. Again, we need an army of individuals to help us in this context. So last thing I'll say is we do need financial assistance. Now, 100% of all your funds tonight is going to this fantastic pregnancy center. But when you go home tonight and you find that quarter on the floor, send that to me, all right? To run a campaign, there's 7 major media markets in the state of Ohio. To run a week's worth of commercials in Cuyahoga County, it's $516,000. We are going up very soon with our first sustained ad buy, but it costs millions of dollars. That's the only way we're going to get a broad message out there. So please pray. Please go to door to door, and please donate towards the cause. If we don't do these things, it means late-term abortion on demand. It means the elimination of parental consent in the state of Ohio. So I'll leave you with a quote actually from our first president, and just encourage you, as my father did, to say yes to life every morning for these next 35 days before the election, to wake up and to ask the Lord how he's calling you to be engaged in the campaign. So these words from our first president, George Washington, I think are quite apt for us today. This is what he said to his troops before the Battle of Long Island. It was the first major battle after the Declaration of Independence was signed. Washington said that the fate of unborn millions will now depend, under God, on the courage and conduct of this army gathered here. Our cruel and unrelenting enemy leaves us only the choice of brave resistance or the most abject submission. We have, therefore, to resolve to conquer or to die. My brothers and sisters in the Lord, we conquer, we defeat this Planned Parenthood and ACLU amendment, or 30,000 babies in Ohio will die in perpetuity on our watch. Let us join together and send this amendment back to hell where it belongs. Vote no in November. Thank you so much.
Well, good evening. As many of you know, I am someone that has a lot of passion, and when I get an idea or I want to do something, it's going to be really hard to stop me. Well, friends, I think I have met my match. Isn't Peter great? Isn't he great? I am so thankful that you joined us tonight, and I've had the opportunity to hear him speak the last couple months over the last year, and every time I hear him speak, what comes to mind is Esther 4:14. And Peter, you were called into this position for such a time as this. God knew that we were going to need a warrior in this fight for life, and I believe that he brought Peter for that reason. Thank you for your passion. Thank you for your willingness to be here tonight and step away from your family. He's been traveling the state every week. And so we're just very appreciative of that. Our whole team is going to be going to Columbus on Thursday, and we're going to be attending the Dinner for Life in Columbus, followed by some events Friday morning, and then we'll be walking with thousands of other at the Ohio March for Life on Friday in Columbus. And so we're looking forward to that. As we look to November, it's easy for us to get really discouraged, to think about what could happen. I recently was at an event, and a gentleman by the name of Dr. David Forbes was speaking, and he said, the other side has the money, the media, and the propaganda, but they do not have God. And while we feel forsaken, we have God, and he has a plan. And so here's the reality. We are praying on our knees that the ballot initiative gets struck down next month. But here's what I want to tell you. Whether or not it does, our team is going to show up the very next day and keep doing what we're doing, because women are going to keep coming and they're still going to need help. And so I've said it before, but the law does not make abortion less desirable. And so our ministry is going to continue to serve women in this community. And I want to introduce you to two sisters. Their names are Kristen and Caitlin, and you're going to see what I mean.
I found out I was pregnant on my 14th birthday. When I got pregnant, I was like the end of 14, and when I actually found out, we had found out about her before, and I cried. Like, I cried in her lap. I sobbed, and it was very overwhelming, and I really thought it was the end of the world. I still don't know what all to do, but I was really, really confused, and like I thought I was failing and everything. And then one day we got a call from here, the Pregnancy Care Center, and they're like, we can help with diapers, we offer so many things for you, and like just the overall help is just so nice.
Originally, she told me about the Pregnancy Care Center, and I was kind of like skeptical about it. I didn't really want to do it. And then I met Kate, and she started coming to our school every Tuesday, and we got to know her a lot better, and we talked to her about like personal things in our life. I feel like the parenting classes have just taught me a lot about being a parent, and it's made it easier for me because there's things that I'm still learning that are helping me as my kid is getting older.
My favorite thing about the Pregnancy Care Center is definitely, the people, yes, obviously, and the store inside of the care center is just like, has everything that you would ever need for your baby.
My favorite thing is Kate. She's such a sweetheart. And I love getting to talk to her every Tuesday, and it kind of is a little upsetting when she doesn't get to make it on Tuesdays. But before we start our lessons, we always gossip and talk about like things that we've done during our week that we haven't seen her, and it's just nice to have somebody to talk to. We were so fortunate that they were able to give us a car, which has helped us tremendously.
Kind of like a family that you got here. Like, you have the support, the help, the resources, like everything about here is just like so welcoming and like inviting. So come over.
I would definitely say that it's something that has helped a lot. And like she said, whether you're getting ready to have a baby or already have a baby, it's very supportive, and the classes that you take help a lot.
Being with my sister and going through it all with her has just brought us like so closer, and like I couldn't imagine being without her. And yeah, doing it with her was just probably the best experience of my life.
Well, if there's one theme that I want you guys to take away from tonight, is that God is doing something abundantly more at the PCC. He is doing that by allowing us to take many obstacles that we have faced this year, and we've been able to turn them into opportunities. This past April, I had the opportunity to hear siblings Derek and Julie Tennant. Derek was in a bad accident at the age of 14, and his sister Julie, he was in a bad accident at the age of 14, which paralyzed him on the left side. His sister Julie, in the picture there, was born with Down syndrome, which means she was born with an extra chromosome that they refer to as the love chromosome. They both travel around, and they get to share their story, and they tell people how they take the obstacles that they've been faced with and they turn them into opportunities. They turn them into opportunities to share with others about the importance of loving and valuing other people. Julie said to me when I was talking to her, she said, "I would rather be slow to learn than slow to love." It was in that moment that I started reflecting about all the obstacles that our ministry has faced this year and how our team has taken each of those obstacles and turned them into an opportunity to love and care for our clients. There are so many amazing things that are happening at our center, and I really just don't have the time to share them with all of you. However, I wanted to take some time to share a few of them with you. Earlier this year, our staff was challenged with finding an easier way to share the gospel with our clients. And so we held an evangelism training, and it really ignited this passion amongst our volunteers and our staff. And so since that training, as of September, the end of September, we've prayed with clients over 200 times. We've had 25 gospel presentations. And are you ready for it? We've had 9 salvations. Praise God. Yep. Our mission at the center is to help women facing crisis pregnancies. But we all know that while we can provide them with support and resources, the true hope is in Jesus. And so we are celebrating that 9 people found that hope, and we are not done. An obstacle that we faced fairly early this year was that we were starting to develop a wait list for our parenting classes. And our parenting classes are one of the most critical ways that we can support our clients after they choose to parent their baby. We can all relate to those moments where we wish that our children came with an instruction manual. And that's exactly what these parenting classes do. They bring instruction and encouragement, and it helps raise the confidence level in our clients as they're trying to raise these children. These classes had only been offered one-on-one, but we recognize that our group classes have been really successful with our dads, and so we had this idea to kick it off and try it with our moms. Well, it turns out it's really successful for moms too. So we offered these classes, and within 2 weeks, we had 8 people signed up, and our class was full. And so it turns out it's highly effective, and we really have enjoyed doing that. Our Women of Hope team leads that charge, and the moms have said over and over that they have increased their confidence, but they really enjoy the community with other moms that are in situations like themselves. It's been a great opportunity for them to learn how to be the best parent they can be, and they earn rewards to shop in our store. And it continues to serve as an on-ramp for our clients to help eliminate that wait list for them. Another obstacle that we recognized earlier this year was for many of our medical clients, we didn't know the outcome of their pregnancy. Meaning, did they have their baby and was it a boy or a girl? Or did they experience a pregnancy loss at some point during their pregnancy? Or did they choose to continue on with the abortion? And so one of the things that our medical team came up with is that every month they would reach out to all of the clients that were due that month. And they would reach out to them and say, hey, we've been thinking about you, wondering how things are going, if you had your baby or not. And if you would like, we have this newborn basket that we would love to gift you with. It's gender specific and it's loaded with all the essentials that you need to care for your baby. And so we didn't know how this was going to be perceived. But lo and behold, they loved it, and they started pouring in. But we loved it because it gave us another touch point with our clients, and it gave us an opportunity to have another opportunity to be a part of their lives. And so when that happened, then they would come in, and then they would start signing up for parenting classes, hence the wait list. And then in the event that they did have a pregnancy loss or they did decide to go on with their abortion, it gave us an opportunity to offer them the grief support that they needed. Each month at our center, we have about 550 appointments scheduled at our center. However, approximately 30% of those will get canceled or there'll be no-shows. And so if you haven't picked up on it yet, we are very relational, and we want to build relationships with our clients. And so we were committed, and we wanted to figure out a way to reduce that cancellation rate. So we came up with the idea of punch cards. Just like when you go to the coffee shop and you get a punch for every time you buy a coffee, we came up with a punch card that every time they attended a class, they would get a punch. And the neat thing was that after 6 punches, they got a really special gift from us. Now you might be thinking, after only 6 punches? Yes, because that's a really big deal for our clients. And we know that when they're going through a tough situation, the act of just showing up is a really big deal. And so we want to bless them with that. And so they get to fill out a get to know me card with all of the things that they love. And so when they get their little bag from our client services director, it's filled with all of these things that they love. And so it's been a really great way to turn an obstacle into an opportunity. I think one of my favorite obstacles that we faced this year was that we came into the obstacle of we had clients coming in that didn't speak English. And so it used to be we would run into this 1 to 2 times a year. Now it's about every week that we are faced with this obstacle. And so between a collaboration with our team and Dr. Mark Anthony, she let us in on a resource that was available. And so I would like to introduce you guys to the newest team member. He didn't make the video, but this is the newest team member at the Pregnancy Care Center. Okay. Okay, everybody, this is Waldo. Say hi, Waldo. This is Waldo, and Waldo has the ability to speak 240 languages plus sign language, okay? And all we have to do is simply dial into a network, and then a live translator pops up on the tablet, and then we can have a conversation with our client. This has been a game changer for us. We named him Waldo because Waldo travels everywhere. Waldo's in a parenting class where he's translating for a parenting class. He's in a medical room where he's translating for a pregnancy test or an ultrasound. Waldo has even traveled to Job and Family Services and the WIC office. And so he is all over the place. He's a busy guy. And for less than $100 a month, we're able to serve clients in ways we didn't even think was possible. And I want you guys to listen to Gelda's story and how this service has impacted her.
My name is Gelda Ristide. I am 29 years old and I'm from Chile. I came here February 15th, 2023. So I came from Chile and went to Florida, then moved to Ohio with my brother. I came to the Pregnancy Care Center because I needed to learn how to raise my children, give them food, play with them, care for them, and receive help because I was not working. I received a lot of support from the Pregnancy Care Center for both of my children. I received milk, clothes, blankets, diapers, wipes, shampoo, lotion, and other things that I didn't have to buy because of the Pregnancy Care Center. Sarah was the first person to help me find Medicaid, food stamps, cash, and WIC. She even went with me to the offices to get what I needed, especially for WIC. This is why I love her and the staff here. They really do care. I don't know everyone who donates, but I would like to say thank you, because they are not just helping me, but a lot of other people as well. I now feel really happy because I feel like I am in the family with the Pregnancy Care Center. It's like a second family to me. I don't feel like a stranger here anymore. I feel like I'm home. I pray that one day I can come to the Pregnancy Care Center, not because I want to receive something, but so I can see the people and Sarah because she is so special to me.
Well, praise God for Waldo and for Gelda. If you caught that, Gelda's from Chile, and she speaks Creole, and she is the most beautiful woman and the most beautiful mom that we have the opportunity to serve. And it would have been very easy for us to say, I'm so sorry, but we can't help you because our videos are only translated into Spanish. But because of Waldo, we're able to meet with her and really anybody else that comes into our center. And so it was a great opportunity for us. And I could stand up here and tell you many more obstacles that our center has faced this year. But then I started thinking about the obstacles that our clients face. And I get people that say to me all the time, I cannot believe that somebody would have an abortion. And my response to them is always, I do. Because if you would sit and listen to their circumstance and to the obstacles that are in front of them, you would understand why they feel that abortion is their only option. There are so many obstacles that the women that come into our center are facing. And culture is constantly telling women that they should not have this baby, that they shouldn't be a parent. And every day at our center, we confront the quality of life worldview with the sanctity of life worldview. In May, we launched a program called Hope Sync because we were determined to reach more abortion women on their phones. Statistics show that women are searching for abortion after 4 p.m. at night and before 7 a.m. in the morning, which just so happens to be when we're not open. And so we launched this program. It's a widget on our website that is a 24/7 live chat. Women can talk to us or a medical professional 24 hours a day. The hope is to develop a pre-appointment relationship with women before they even come through our doors. As a whole, centers have reported an 80% reduction in no-shows because of this program. And as a result, our medical appointments have increased. And when I say increase, 11 of the 12 months, we have had record months for our medical appointments. Just in September, our medical clinic performed 42 ultrasounds, 34 pregnancy tests, and 19 STI tests. Just last month, we had 2 women reach out to us, one via HopeSync, who had taken the abortion pill, and they regretted their decision. And so with this program, we were able to connect with them literally within minutes and get them connected with the Abortion Pill Reversal Network, which then within an hour, they were on their way to a provider to get medication to reverse their abortion. And I can stand here today and tell you that we've been in contact with this women. They're following up with their providers. One of them had an ultrasound today to make sure that everything is going well. And for all we know is that moms and babies are both doing great because they were able to get the help that they needed. Yes. We are currently on track to have a 100% increase in our medical appointments from 2022 to 2023. And for those of us that are not good at math, that means we have doubled the amount of appointments. Okay, that's what that means. Some days we walk into the office in the morning and we could have 4 to 6 medical appointment add-ons through our website or through HopeSync that are on our calendar when we walk in the next morning. We are reaching and meeting with more abortion vulnerable women than ever before. We have more staff and volunteer nurses than we've ever had before, and yet we're still struggling to meet the demand. Since 2020, I've often told people that I feel like I'm consistently running behind this ministry, meaning that the ministry continues to grow, and I feel like as much as we plan, I'm a few steps behind. But God recently showed me that if we are running behind, then that means that He is out ahead, leading us in this ministry. God wants abundantly more for the Pregnancy Care Center. And me running behind means that our board and staff are following God's leading for the center. The growth that our center continues to see is amazing, and our staff has come up with some really good ideas, really great ideas to try to meet the demand. And we've tried every which way possible to use the space that we've been blessed with to meet the demand. But ultimately, we need more. So we are excited to share with you that next month, we're going to be renovating the 3,000 square feet that's next door to us. You may recall that in 2020, we purchased our current location, and at the time, there was a hair salon that occupied half of that space, which was a great situation for us. Through a lot of prayer, the board decided to not renew their lease this year, which has allowed us to take over that space. When we purchased this building, that space was our long-term growth plan. Turns out it's a short-term growth plan. Here we are a few years later, desperately needing the space. And this space is going to specifically meet the need and the mission of the Pregnancy Care Center and help with the growth. The new space is going to be primarily medical. It's going to be equipped with 2 larger medical rooms, which will have their own private bathrooms for our clients. These larger medical rooms are going to allow for more support for the clients in those rooms. And we're also hoping to get an additional ultrasound machine so that we have the ability to do 2 ultrasounds at one time. The new space will be equipped with a medical receptionist and nurses' workstation. Out of the 3,000 square feet of this space that we're renovating, the room that I'm the most excited about is a room called the VIP room. And this is a space where we're going to take our clients prior to the exam room. And it's going to be a safe space, a space where they feel like that they can sit and share with our clients about the situation, about the obstacles that they're facing. And they can share with our medical team why they feel that abortion is their only option. A few months ago, I was in my office and the phone was ringing out in the main area. And after about 4 rings, I realized that nobody was out there. So I ran out there and I answered the phone. And as soon as I said, Pregnancy Care Center, can I help you? I heard this deep breathing and this quiver in this girl's voice that we're going to call Sarah. And Sarah started to talk and ask questions, and that quiver just kept growing. And as she was asking questions, I could tell immediately that Sarah did not want to have an abortion, yet she felt like it was her only option. And so I knew that it was vital that we get Sarah into the center and that she has an opportunity to talk with our medical team. And so thankfully, we were able to work that out. She came in and she met with one of our nurses, and with tears streaming down her face, she told our nurse why she didn't feel like she could have this baby. She was already the mom to a very young 1-year-old. She was not in a relationship with the father of this baby. She had some pre-existing health conditions that she knew would complicate the pregnancy, and she was scared. Bottom line, she was scared. And I really can't express to you the feelings and the emotions that she was feeling in that moment. We kept in touch with Sarah, but then she didn't show up for her follow-up ultrasound the following week. And so we feared the worst. We feared that she had gone ahead with the abortion. Well, on Friday, our medical team thought we're going to reach out to Sarah one more time. We're going to reach out to her one more time. And so they did. And she texted back, and she said, I am currently 3 months pregnant. God gave me too many signs to follow my heart with this decision, so I did. So now we are currently working with her. We're getting her signed up for parenting classes and getting her all the resources and the support that she needs to be able to continue on with this pregnancy. And these are some of the most important moments that we get to step into. And that is why this VIP room is so critical. I hope you can sense the passion that's coming out of me. But that's why this room is so critical, because it gives them a safe space to be able to share their story. And it gives our medical team an opportunity to say, we can support you. And if they choose to have this baby, we have another team member that comes in and says, okay, these are all of the ways that we can support you. And we start making phone calls, and we start setting up referrals, and we get them in parenting classes, and we get them all the things that they need. It's one of the best things that we get to do, and it's just so these mamas know that they're supported. It's where you guys get to step in with your time serving as volunteers and your gifts to the Baby Boutique and your donations to the Pregnancy Care Center. Not every time does a woman choose life, unfortunately. But when she does, we have the opportunity to say, we are behind you and we've got you. Our work does not end when a mother chooses life. That's where it begins. The rest of the new space is going to have a larger meeting room, and it's going to meet the need for that growing group classes and the parenting classes that I talked to you about. New volunteers since January, which brings us up to 80 volunteers that come into our center every single week to serve. Friends, we are abundantly blessed. And many of our programs, like our parenting classes, are 100% volunteer-led. And storage, we are going to have more storage. Currently, our ministry utilizes 4 different storage spaces, 2 of which are off-site. And so you've heard us talk about our Baby Boutique. It is such a critical piece of supporting women in their pregnancies. And already through September of this year, we have passed out over 10,750 items out of our Baby Boutique, and 100% of those are donated. Okay, we do not really spend a dime on anything that comes through our Baby Boutique, so we need the storage. I mentioned before that we're hoping to begin renovations next month. We've partnered with Weaver Commercial again, and due to the generosity of our supporters, and because we have been good stewards with the money that we've been blessed with, we are able to go ahead and start this renovation without a building campaign. We do have some funding to raise, so we are planning next month our first annual pancake breakfast at the Knights of Columbus, and all of the profits will go to the Phase 2 renovation of this project. And if you're interested in supporting this project, we would just invite you to come and take a vision tour with us. Life decisions require life support. And as I look out at all 800 and some of you and those watching online, you guys are our life support. You equip our team every single day to be able to support our clients. Stories like Gelda and Kristen and Caitlin, they do not happen if we don't have your support. And we are abundantly blessed. This ministry is abundantly blessed. And so on behalf of the board and the staff and the women that we get to serve, I just want to say thank you.
Well, that is a leader with passion and vision. And I've known Becca for a while, and that's a team that I want to be on, is one where she's leading. And I hope that you're going to jump in as well, because a little bit later on, we're going to have a chance to give and to get behind what's going on through the Pregnancy Care Center. And I know for myself, I oversee the finances at Grace Church, so I get the opportunity every month to write a check, and that's incredible to be a part of that every single month. But even last night, my wife and I, she's on the board here at the PCC, we were talking about what we were going to give, and we threw out a number, and there was a little bit of silence. We thought to ourselves, we can forgo a few more things. We can go a little bit further. We can stretch this goal a little bit. And then we doubled it and added some more, and we went way over and above what we thought we were going to give. So as we get to that chance here a little bit later on, be prayerfully considering what it is that you're going to do tonight. Maybe you came in with one number. Well, maybe you add something to it. Maybe you forgo something and think about it that way. So we'll get to that here in a little while, but I do want to introduce to you one final special guest here this evening, which is Mark Schultz. So tonight, we have a platinum selling artist who's an 18-time Dove Award nominee, including Artist of the Year, Song of the Year, Album of the Year, Writer of the Year, Male Vocalist of the Year. Mark's been featured on CNN, ABC, 2020, and as a special guest on Extreme Home Makeover. Mark's had 13 number one songs in his career, and that's a pretty amazing career. But Mark would tell you that all pales in comparison to the honor that he gets to sharing his story of adoption with an audience. So please welcome with me, Mark Schultz.
Thank you so much. Well, when Becca called and asked if I'd be a part of this event, I said yes, because I was adopted when I was 2 weeks old, and I always tell people it's the hardest 2 weeks of my life with the paperwork and everything. But I got the best parents in the world, and I realized that I wouldn't be here today had there not been a place like PCC that would have walked my birth mom through the decision to have life and give life, and that turned out to be me. And so I'm so grateful for that, and that's why I'm here tonight. And it was so fun for me backstage just to listen to Becca talk. It was like culture is saying like, hey, the headwinds for people that have babies just to go ahead and have an abortion, that's where this whole thing's going. And she's like, oh yeah, bring that on. We're just getting started. And it was just so fun to listen to her talk. So it made me change my first song that I'm doing when I came out. But I will say this. We had a pregnancy center in Nashville. We had a lot of, when COVID happened, we didn't have any shows. And so they said, hey, do you want to do something? I was like, I got all the time in the world. And so I went down there and they said, we're trying to mentor some men whose their wives or girlfriends are having babies, and we need to help them be men and get jobs and keep jobs. And one of them they introduced me to, his name was Trey, and they said, hey, will you be a mentor for Trey to help him get a job and keep a job? And I said, sure. And Trey said, so you're going to help me get a job and keep a job? I said, yeah. And he said, what do you do? And I said, well, I do music for a living. He's like, well, what does that mean? And I said, well, I go around the country and do concerts and stuff. And he goes, oh, great. How are you supposed to help me get a job? You don't even have a real job. And that was painful. But true. So he started to listen to all my music, and he knew my songs better than anybody. And he came to his first Christian concert, and he sat on the front row. And it was a Christmas show. And I go, hey, really, he knew all my songs by then and dug Christian music. So I said, hey, can I do a new song? And I could see him go like, yes. And I'm like, great, because I wrote it about you. And he yells, oh, no, through the whole building. But I'm going to teach this one to you. Again, I changed this one up. I wasn't going to do this one, but I am after hearing Becca speak. I just got fired up. So my hope is that culture is coming, it's a million miles an hour telling young women why they shouldn't have a baby. And here's a place to stand in the middle of that, and they're saying this is a place where we care, we love, and we communicate God's goodness for not only the woman, but also the child that she carries. And so I'm going to do this. So I'm going to sing, open up the heavens, Lord, and show your glory. And you're all going to sing, God of glory, open up the heavens now. And then I'm going to sing something else, and you're going to sing, God of mercy, let your love come raining down. I'm just going to tell you now, they're going to put the words up on the screen because I can see your faces, and you're like, I'm not tracking with any of that. I'm glad you had a feeling about switching the first song, but I didn't get that word. So I need everybody to stand up where you're at right now. And I'm hoping there's more energy in this song as we sing it. So I need everybody to raise your right hand and just say, Mark. No, that was pretty Presbyterian. I'm looking for something loud in Ohio. I've heard you at Ohio State football games. I know how this goes. I need everybody to say, Mark. We promise. To sing loud, clap to the whole song, and be the loudest audience you've ever had. All right, Ohio, make a little noise, and we'll sing this one out here. All right, put your hands together. Here we go. Side of the room over here. What about this side? Still over with me here? I feel your spirit washing over me. In your presence, I have fallen to my knees. Ever faithful, all forgiving, Well, you can go ahead and sit down now. Let me ask this. Would it be okay if I introduced my family to you? Yeah. Okay, thanks. I didn't bring them, but I got pictures, and some of the pictures that I brought, well, I brought some pictures when they were younger. My kids were younger because they might have been cuter then. And so this is the cutest pictures that I got of my kids. And I'm just going to tell you right now, as my oldest son, Ryan, when I show you this picture, you're going to look and you're going to go, oh my gosh, he's cute. But I've told you that already. So this is him. And we haven't even let him inside yet. He's still out there rolling around in the grass. We think we need like an Ohio winter in him, and then we'll let him inside and show him, we just need to toughen him up a little bit. And you look at this picture, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm sure that kid's been happy his whole life and never even had a bad attitude. And that's not true. And sometimes he is that guy, and sometimes he turns into this guy right here. And I told his mom, you just can't put like a boy in a green bumbo seat out next to a green leafy plant. That's emasculating, Really hurtful. But I'm real proud of him. He's got his dad's double chin already and really starting life off great. And, who all's got kids in here? And like you've got kids. You know how you can have kids out of the same DNA pool, but they kind of gravitate to the other ends of the pool? You're just like, how are you even in the same family? So Ryan, when he was 2 years old, he walks in the house. True story, his mom's an OBGYN, catches him for a living. And she's really smart. She loves education. And Ryan comes in the house. He's 2 years old. And he goes, Daddy, look, I got a plethora of leaves. I'm like, well, you might be grounded. Let me figure out what that word even means first, and then we'll go from there. And then he's got a brother 2 years younger named Gus, and Gus is like the opposite of that. He's more like me. He just smiles a lot. He's happy to be there. And even when he's sleeping, he's smiling. Let me show you this picture. This is Gus having a nap. And so I'm going to show you a picture of their mom reading them a book on the couch. And it's real subtle, but I just want you to look and see if you can pick out which one of the kids is like dialed into education and loves just learning that kind of stuff, and which one is not quite as dialed into it. Again, it's subtle, so you got to look close, but just see if you can be the first one at the table to pick it out. My wife and Ryan might as well be at Disneyland right there. Just conjugating verbs as they go right there. And Gus is like, there are not near enough pictures on this page to hold me for even 2.5 seconds to do this. So whenever we'd have a dinner, like a candlelight dinner, I'd always say, hey, Ryan, why don't you blow out the candles? And he'd get all excited. He'd blow out the candles with no incident, and just blow them out. And then one day, Gus is like, hey, my birthday's coming up. I'm going to be 2. I need some practice. And he said, can I blow out the candles tonight? And I was like, oh, geez. Okay, Gus. And he goes, I can do it? I said, yeah. And he goes, okay, get the camera ready. So this is Gus. This is my son Gus blowing out the candles at our house for the first time after dinner.
Try again, baby.
Keep going. Don't touch it.
Just try to blow it out.
Gotta blow it out. So that's what we're dealing with at my house right now, and we're thinking homeschool on that deal probably. And I show you those pictures because a few years ago I was getting ready to walk on stage. This speaker right here, I hate that the people that are like, this is what my bald head looks like behind. I'm just giving you a real life view of what that is. And I was getting ready to walk on stage, and this lady said, hey, aren't you adopted? And I said, yeah, I am. And she said, have you ever met your birth mom before? And I was like, no, I haven't. And she said, do you think you will? And I said, I don't know. I think it'd be kind of weird if I just showed up right now. And I was like, hey, remember me? And I said, I probably have as much hair as I had last time she saw me. But that's about it. And she said, well, I think it would be cool if you met her. And I said, yeah. And they were introduced to me. So I was getting ready to walk on stage. And I said, it'd just be one of those times in her life. She was just probably young and scared, didn't care, and just gave me up for adoption. And this lady stopped me. She got in front of me before I walked on the stage. And they were saying, ladies and gentlemen, please walk. And I was like, she just grabbed a hold of me like this. And she pulled me in real close. And her face got real red. And her lips started to quiver, And she said, did you say didn't care? And I said, well, I'm just trying not to get beat up by a 75-year-old lady before I go out on stage is what I'm really trying to do. I said, I'm not sure what I said. And she said, let me just ask you a question. And she said, and she was serious, and she said, have you ever been pregnant before? And I was honest, and I said, no. And she said, for a young girl who's really in crisis, to carry you for 9 months, it's not because she didn't care. And then she said, have you ever given birth? And again, I said no. And she said, but for a young lady in crisis that has a target on her back from all the people in her town, and they know what her story is, she would have carried you for 9 months, and then she would have gone through the pain of childbirth. That wasn't because she didn't care. And then she said, and then specifically to you, in your specific situation, not everybody's, but yours, she would have given birth to you, and then she would have held you in her arms, and she would have said, I want to give you the best life I possibly can, but I'm not in a situation to do that right now. But I know that there's a Christian family out there that's been praying for someone like you. And then she would have kissed you on the forehead, and she would have handed you off to a nurse who would have given you to your parents. I can guarantee you it wasn't out of selfishness or because she didn't care that you were born. It was out of love. And my jaw hit the floor because I'd never thought of my birth mom as being a hero before. And she is. And I never thought of a place like PCC, of Wayne County being champions for a birth mom like my mom. And so that changed everything for me. And a few years later, I rode my bike across the country to raise money for widows, orphans, and the unborn. I rode from California to Maine and did 14 concerts along the way. I pedaled all the way. Matter of fact, I still remember this today. I went through Worcester, Ohio on that bike ride, and I noticed it today. I was like, I know this road because I just rode it like this for all the way across. But we raised $250,000 on the bike ride, and it's been one of the greatest things that I've ever gotten to be a part. But I also had a lot of time to think, and so I wrote a song for my birth mom on that trip, and then we shot a video of it, hoping that one day maybe she would see it. But more than anything, she would know how grateful I am that she made that choice for life. And that's this song. And yeah, it's so fun to get to be back here now that I've gone through here writing this song on my bike, and now here it is. So this is that song. We'll put it up on the screen as well. Must have felt your tears when they took me from your arms. I'm sure I must have heard you say goodbye. Young and so afraid, had you made a big mistake? Or could an ocean even hold the tears you cried? You had dreams for me, you wanted the best for me. You made the only choice you could that night. You gave life to me, a brand new world to see, like playing baseball in the yard with Dad at night. Mom reading Goodnight Moon, praying in my room. So if you worry if your choice was right, when you gave me up, oh, you gave everything to me. And if I saw you on the street, would you know that it was me? And would your eyes be blue or green like mine? Would we share a warm embrace? Would you know me in your heart? Or would you smile and let me walk on by, knowing you had dreams for me? You wanted the best for for me. Oh, I hope that you'd be proud of who I am. You gave life to me, a chance to find my dreams, and the chance to fall in love. You should have seen her shining face on our wedding day. Oh, is this a dream you had in mind? When you gave me up, oh, you gave everything to me. And when I see you there, watching from heaven's gates, into your arms I'm gonna run. And when you look in my eyes, you can see my whole life, see who I was and who I become. 'Cause you gave life to me, a brand new world to see. Like playing baseball with my sons late at night, and reading Goodnight Moon, praying in their room. Well, I'm so grateful that I've had this life. When you gave me up, oh, you gave everything to me. Everything to me. Everything to me. Well, I've actually been adopted a couple times in my life. Once when I was 2 weeks old, and then once when I was 23. I just graduated from Kansas State University with a marketing degree so that I could go to Nashville, Tennessee, and become a professional waiter. And I was driving into town, and I answered this thing in the newspaper that was like for a room in somebody's house that I could stay in. So I drove to the house, and when I got there, it was a white house with a white picket fence, and I was like, oh my gosh, I could be very happy here. And I pulled into the driveway, and I'm getting out of my car, and this mature couple comes out of the house and down the driveway, and they said, can we help you? And I said, yeah, I think I live here. And they said, we've lived here for 45 years, and we've never seen you before. I think you live next door in the shack. And I looked over, sure enough, I live next door at the shack. So I went and I unloaded my stuff at the shack, and I got a phone call while I was over there from the lady that I just met that kicked me out of her house. And she said, well, Henry and I have been talking, and we don't think you can feed yourself, so come on back over to our house for dinner. So I went back over, and I didn't know at the time, but their names were Henry and Liz grew up with Minnie Pearl off of Hee Haw, if you've ever seen Hee Haw before. They were best friends growing up, so it was like moving in next door to Hee Haw. And I'd never met a Southern person before. They scared me because they fried everything before they ate it. And she was making chicken fried steak, and sure enough, she brings it out, and she puts it on my plate, and then gets her fork and knife out and starts cutting into squares, you know, because I was only 24. And Henry says, hey, did I ever tell you about my first date with Liz? And I'm like, no, because I don't even know you people. And she said, yeah. He said, yeah, when I was 18, I came to her house, and I knocked on her front door. She used to live in this house. I came to her house, and I knocked on the front door, and I asked her dad if I could take her to the movies. And her dad invited me in, sat me down, and said, son, it's my only daughter. I want you to walk her to the movies, and I want you to walk her home, and you promise me you're never going to leave her side. And I love that story. Loved it. But Henry told it to me every single night for like 9 months because he forgot that he told it to me like the night before, but I was hungry, and I just kept eating and didn't want to stop. And so I thought, if I ever write them a song, it's got to be called Walking Her Home, because basically that's the only story that Henry remembers. And so I moved to the other side of town. I became a youth director at a church because I went on a ski trip with a bunch of 7th graders, and they duct taped me to a bed. Different story, but anyway, I stayed for 10 years. And so I finally get their song done. It's like almost done. I didn't have a last verse for it, but I called Henry on the phone like 5 years later. I'm like, Henry, I think I've got your song done. He's like, great. But we're in the nursing home, and time is ticking. So you better get over here and play it for us. So I drove to the nursing home outside of Nashville, and I got there about 2:30 in the afternoon. There's only 2 people eating, Henry and Liz. They're having lasagna, one for Henry, one for Liz, and one cut into squares next to Liz. And I said, well, here's your song, and played it for them. I said, no, look, it doesn't have a last verse because I haven't got that far yet, but it's all I got. And they said, we want to hear it. So I played it for them. They hold hands, and, they're having a good time. And when it's over with, Henry gives me a hug, Liz gives me a hug, and then Henry gets out like this, and Liz gets her arm in there, and they start walking down the hallway like 1/4 mile an hour. And now by this time it's like 3:15, and I'm like, you are so slow. You're going to have to make a U-turn at 4:30 somewhere and then come back for dinner again. You're not even going to make it to your room. But as I'm laughing at him walking down the hallway, I'm watching Henry walk Liz down the hall, and I'm like, oh my gosh. Henry, when you promised her father you're going to walk her home, you weren't talking about to the movies. In that moment, I decided I want to be that guy when I'm 90 years old. I want to be a godly man who's a great dad, who's a great husband, who's a great spiritual leader, and I'm still walking my wife down the hallway. I should be laughing. I should be praying I'm that guy. And my first Christmas in Nashville, I was going nowhere fast. And it was Christmas because when I got my chicken fried steak from Liz, it had a piece of holly on it. And she comes over and she puts the telephone on the table. It's one of those, those old ones. That's all they had. And she said, hey, you need to call your folks. And I said, well, what for? And she said, well, Henry and I have been talking. And we decided if we had a son who was trying to make it in the world today, we'd want somebody to look out after him. So you just call your folks and tell them they've got nothing to worry about because you just got adopted by Henry and Liz. And so I do this song for 2 of my favorite people in Nashville. And if there's any of these songs that I'm doing that you go, oh my gosh, I've heard that on the radio or whatever, it's because I wrote it. But I wrote it because I lived next door to a Henry and Liz who believed in me before I ever did. And so this is a song for 2 of my favorite people. Looking back, he sees it all. It was her first date the night it came to call. And her dad said, son, have her home on time. And promise me you'll never leave her side. He took her to a show in town. He was 10 feet off the ground. He was walking her home, holding her hand. Oh, the way she smiled stole the breath right out of him. Down that old road with the stars up above, he remembers where he was the night he fell in love. He was walking her home. 10 more years in a waiting room. 1:30. It's when the doctor said, come in and meet your son. And his knees went weak when he saw his wife. She was smiling as she said, he's got your eyes. And as she slept, he held her tight. His mind went back to that first night. He was walking her home and holding her hand. Oh, the way she smiled stole the breath right out of him. And down that old road with the stars up above, he remembers where he was the night he fell in love. He was walking her home, and he walked her through the best days of her life. 60 years together, and he never left aside. A nursing home at 85, and the doctor said it could be her last night. And the nurse said, oh, should we tell him now, or should he wait until the morning to find out? But when they checked her room that night, he was laying by her side. He was walking her home and holding her hand. Oh, the way she smiled when he said, this is not the end. And just for a while, they were 18, and she was still more beautiful to him than anything. He was walking her home. He was walking her home. Looking back, he sees it all. It was her first date the night he came to call. We got one more story, and that's, I asked my mom, I said, hey, will you please tell me that story of when I was adopted, because I know it has to be awesome. And she said, well, we drove to Kansas City. We lived clear on the other side of Kansas, but we drove to Kansas City because we heard that there was a little baby and just 2 weeks old. And so we drove outside of Kansas City, and we drove to this big white house, and we got out, and we walked inside, and there were some long, big steps, like Gone with the Wind kind of steps that went up there. And we walked up those steps, and we walk in top of the floor. We drop into this room, and in that room, there's a baby crib, and you're in it, and your dad and I had to decide whether we were going to adopt you or not. So we looked at you, and then we went and got some lunch, and it's like, this is a horrible story, Mom. And she said, then we came back, and we came up the stairs again, and we were in the room, and I looked at you, and then I looked at your dad, and then I looked at you again, I looked at your dad, and I said, well, what do you think? And apparently my dad sits there and stares at me, and he goes, I'm in. I'm like, it sounds like you're deciding what frozen food to eat out of the freezer. That's a whole, anyway, that's the story. And then 23 years later, I go to Nashville, and I meet Henry and Liz in their white house, and they feed me every night for like 9 months, you know? And they take care of me, and when you're 85 years old and you bring the neighbor kid over for 9 months and feed him every meal and make him gain 20 pounds, that's your way of saying, I'm in. And so I was telling my wife, I was like, man, the people who have made the biggest impact in my life are the ones who have said, I'm in. And I was like, man, how do people know how to do that? Because it seems like it'd be a lot easier just to keep your head down and your hands in. You don't have to get involved with anybody. It's like easier to live that way. And my wife, like, it is easier to live that way. But the problem is you also don't impact anybody that way either. You can go through your life without making any impact at all. And she said, the problem is we tend to write really small stories for ourselves. But if you feel God whisper in your heart that he's got an idea for you or a plan for you, and you act on that, and you say, I'm in, the great thing is you stop writing the story. You stop writing your story, and God starts writing your story. And God writes great stories. And I was like, well, how do my mom and dad know how to do that? How does Henry and Liz, how do they know how to do that? And my wife said, well, I think your mom and dad and Henry and Liz loved a God who did this to them first. And they were just mirroring to you what God had already done for them. So they were just acting it out back to you. And I was like, oh my gosh, that is unbelievable. We should do that, you know? And my wife's like, well, I've been doing it for a while. You can join me if you want to. So for the next 2 years, my wife lived just like this. Because I'm the Henry to her Liz, you know, walking her down the hall. And the whole thing, I was like, they're going to be two of us doing that. So I just looked at her example, and I just stood right up there, and I was like, because I knew whatever was coming was probably going to be painful. I didn't know what it was, but it was probably going to be painful. And 2 years go by, and then I hear her scream in her office. And so I ran down to the office to make sure she was okay. And she's staring at a computer screen, and just tears running down her face. And I'm like, oh my gosh, are you okay? And when she was looking at this computer screen, I came around the corner and I saw it, and she looks at the computer screen, and then she looks at me, and then looks at the computer screen, and then looks at me, and she goes, well, what do you think? And I was like, oh, man, oh, my gosh. I'm in. And 2 weeks later, it should have been 6 months later, but 2 weeks later, because my wife's really good at paperwork, we ended up in China, and we adopted our daughter, Maya May Schultz. And it was one of the greatest days of my life. And this is the next day when she was getting ready to come home to the United States. And I love this picture. This is Maya May with her two brothers. Now, Ryan's 11, Gus is 9, and she's 7. But what I love about this picture is she's like a little Chinese grandmother at our house. She really is. I mean, just look at her right there. Doesn't she look like just a little Chinese grandmother? And so she'll come home from school, and the boys will be out playing, you know, like out in the trees or something in the front yard, and she will open up the front door, and she will scream, where are my boys at? And they will come running because they're scared of her. And I think it's the greatest thing ever. But you can't tell in this picture, but you can kind of tell in this picture. Let me see if that comes up on the screen there. She doesn't have fingers on her left hand. And she comes from a place where they say, if you're not perfect, you don't belong. And so the first thing they do is they take you to an orphanage. And then after the orphanage, once you age out of the orphanage, you go to the streets. Because if you're on the streets and you don't have a place to stay, then they don't have to count you as a real person because you don't count anyway. And so they just happen to call and send a picture to a computer that had a lady on the other end that was doing this. I want to live a great story. And so we got there, and she was the cutest thing I've ever seen in my life. She's all wrapped up like a little Chinese burrito, and she's just in there. That's not even a real food for those of you who are like food people. I just put two countries together on that one that didn't even belong. Right, she was like an egg roll all in there, doing the thing, and I carried her for 17 hours on the plane, because every time I tried to put her down, she would cry. So I just held her for 17 hours on the plane. And everybody on the plane wanted to take their picture with her because she was like the cutest thing they'd ever seen. I mean, look at her. Oh, that's my bald head. Never mind. And the cutest thing they'd ever seen. And so they were getting their picture taken with her. Like everybody got their picture taken with her. And then the stewardesses were like walking her up and down the hallway or the alley, whatever they call those things on a plane. Man, stay in school. Learn some words. Anyway, down the aisle, I guess, and they were carrying her, and everybody's taking pictures, and the captain of the plane came out and took a picture with her. I've got no idea who was flying that thing. And point is, she was beautiful. And so we're flying into, you're going to love this. We're flying in. Her first place that she's going to get to see is Detroit, Michigan, which I was sorry for her about that. But anyway, that's where we were flying into. And all we have to do is get off the plane, walk down the jet bridge, and step into the airport. And as soon as I step into the airport and get one foot down, she becomes an American citizen. So we're going on hour 17 of me just holding her, you know. And I'm walking there. We're the last ones off the plane, and everybody else got their pictures of her, and they're all... And I'm getting there, and we're almost there, and two Delta agents come up right before we get there, two ladies. And they stand right in front of us, And I'm like, hey, if somebody's about to be an American citizen, and I'm getting ready to step, and this lady says, I need you to stop. I said, you need me to stop? I need you to get out of the way because I got to put a toe down. And she says, I need your baby. I said, you need my baby? And I looked at my wife because she knows things, and she's like, I don't know. So I gave her my baby, and she took her. And she looked at her. And then she gave her to the other lady, and she looked at her. And then she handed her back, and this Delta agent gets really close to her face. And she leans in. And she kisses her on the head, and she says, baby girl, welcome home. I just wanted to be the first one to say I'm so glad you're here. Almost went Lee Greenwood up in that place with proud to be an American, but I didn't. But she comes from a place where they say you're not good enough and you don't count. Keep moving off to the side. And the first person that she meets from here says, you're beautiful, you're loved, you're a child of God, and I can't wait to see the story he's going to write through you. Welcome home. I want to be from that place right there. And sometimes I think we take it for granted, the place we live, that we can come to an event center like this and lift up God's name and celebrate what Jesus is doing through a place like PCC of Wayne County and the light that they are in this community. And I think, let's don't ever forget that, because there's some places you just can't do that without having to go to jail. And so 2 years later, my wife called me. I mean, we talked in between there. And mostly just texts. And she said, hey, where are you at? And I said, I'm doing a concert tonight in Wisconsin, because that's where I left this morning from our house when I was coming here. Christmas concert. And she said, can you change your flight and meet me somewhere? And I said, where are we meeting? And she said, I need you to meet me in Kansas City. And I said, Kansas City? What's going on in Kansas City? And my wife said, a great story. So I changed my flight. And I flew to Kansas City, and I went and got the rental car, and I picked my wife up. She put it in the GPS on the phone, set it there. We drove through Kansas City and out the other side. And we came, and the address had us go and park in front of a big white house that I'd been in before. And we walked inside, and there were some big steps like Gone with the Wind going up to the second floor that my parents had walked up before. And we walked in a room, and there was a crib in the room with a little baby in the crib. And my wife said, well, and I said, I am in. Because I knew what my wife knew, what my mom and dad knew, and what Henry and Liz knew. That when you feel God whisper in your heart and you act on it, he writes great stories. So I asked my wife, how did we end up here? And she said, every year I write a check to the adoption agency you came from as a tip of the hat to your birth mom who chose to give life to you and the adoption agency. And I'd sent it in a few days ago, and they got a call that there was a girl who had always thought about having an abortion, and she changed her mind in the 11th hour, and they connected them with the adoption agency. And the adoption agency was scrambling, and the lady that got the phone call was also the lady that got your check, and it was still sitting on her desk. And so she looked at the phone number, and she called it, and just happened to call the one girl that night that answered the phone like this. Thank the Lord This is my family a couple years ago up on the screen. Honestly, I'm happy to be in a hotel tonight for one night. That's going to be exciting for me. It just got busier, but I look at this picture right here, and I have two thoughts. Number one, my first thought is my boys still think it's cool when their dad cuts their hair in the backyard. And then I look at my girls, Maya May and Ebby Lou, and I think about my story and how I would be in a much different place, or maybe not here at all, unless there was a place like PCC that would have met my birth mom like this. Amen. And I'm here to walk with you through the highs and the lows. Now, after the baby is here, we are with you. And just happened to pass me off to a couple who said, we are in. And then met a Henry and Liz that said, we are in. Then I got married to a lady who knew this is the way we're supposed to live. And every birthday, I walk into these girls' room, and they pop above their sheets, and they're like, Dada. And I'm like, oh my gosh, my knees buckle. And I'm like, I can't imagine life without you in it. Why? Because they were in a story. And God put us in the middle of that story because we were open to be in that story. And he changed the story. It was coming to a period, and he just went a comma and just kept going. I'm going to end on this song. This is, I wasn't even going to do this song, but I'm going to because it just is so much of what they do at PCC. So this song's not even done yet, and I don't even care. But it's just, it's what they do so well. They live like this because God loved them like this first. And it's just a great example of God's love every single time somebody walks in to their office. And so I'm going to play this one. This doesn't even have a second verse yet. This is not a good idea. But I think when you're trying to do a show, they always say, don't end on a song that's not done yet, but it's what we're doing. And so it's going to have a different second verse because I'm just making it up on the spot. But anyway, but it's why we're here, to celebrate an organization that does this so well. So it's like, they're not gonna make it. That's what everyone says. The damage is done and their love is run dead. There's nothing to do now. It's just time to let go. No storybook ending as it comes to a close. She sits in a clinic, scared and alone. No one to talk to, she's got nowhere to go. She carries a life and a choice that she'll make. But the PCC of Wayne County is just down the way. That God loves to tell are the ones that were certain won't turn out so well. But he loves rewriting our hopelessness into his glory. Yes, it turns out that God loves a comeback story. Remember that tune that left him for dead and they said it was through. Oh, but just 3 days later that stone rolled away. There stood my Savior. out the guide. It's a comeback story. Yes, it turns out the guide loves a comeback story. Thank you so much. I'm thrilled that you had me tonight. And this is such a great organization. And I was thrilled I got to meet Becca and see her passion for this. And so this is so fun for me to get to talk about this. There's a card on your table. Everybody's got one. Can you just reach in there and find it? And so is it in your bag, in the little white bags right there? So there's a white bag where you're going to find a white envelope. And inside that white envelope, you're going to find a white card. Are y'all needing some white bags over here? You need some envelopes? Yeah. So if you need a white card, will you hold up your hand? Yeah, just keep them up high. All right. As they're handing those out, they made this as easy as possible. So on the front side of this card, you just put your name, your mailing address, city zip, your email, your phone number, and then here's the thing. I know there's folks in here, again, and I talk about the culture of what these young women are facing and the headwinds that they're facing, but there's a place like the PCC of Wayne County that's God's light in this community, and they're trying to grow, and they're trying to be the number one choice for these ladies instead of listening to culture that says, I don't care, to you are loved, and so is the life that you carry. And so there's a place for a one-time gift, and you can say, and here's my hope. If you were here last year or a few years ago, my hope is that you write a check. Whatever you wrote last year, I hope you put a 0 on the end of it. And just feel God in your heart say, leading you into a great story through the PCC. And then what's also very important to them is the monthly gifts. And if you could just say, hey, I'm going to pledge this much for this year, that way they know every month how much is coming in. And that's extremely important. That's one of the biggest things you can do right there is let them know how they can work their budget. And then if you would like to leave a legacy gift of $10,000 for 3 years, they will take it. And that is so easy to do. Just check that box. And then there's something else you can do, but I can't read it. You can leave your considering placing a pregnancy care center in my estate plan. They'll also take your estate, so you can do that as well. So you can put your credit card information and your number on there. They also make it really easy on the back for you people that like QR codes. It's super easy to do that. You can also go online and go to the website and do it. And there's also a way that you can type this into a text, and the text will get right back with you and let you do it as well. When I rode my bike across the country for the unborn, we raised $250,000. And my hope tonight on my second time through Worcester that I'll be able to say we did better than that the second time through. That's my hope. That's my prayer. So I'm going to sing a song while you sit there, because I know if we do this next part right, it's going to set the PCC up to win for the rest of the year. So I'm just going to play a song while you think about what God's telling your heart to write on your piece of paper. My hope is that you'll listen to your wife, because she's going to know better than you do about how to do that. I am the maker of the heavens. I am the bright and morning star. I am the breath of all creation, who always was and is to come. I am the one who walked on water. I am the one who calms the seas. I am the miracles and wonder. So come and see, or follow me, and you will know that I am the fountain of living water, the risen Son of Man, the healer of the broken. And when you cry, I am your Savior and Redeemer, who bore the sin of a man, the author and perfecter, beginning and the end. I am the spirit deep inside you. I am the word upon your heart. I am the one who even knew you before your birth, before you were. I am the fountain of living water, the risen Son of Man, the healer of the broken. And when you cry, I am your Savior and Redeemer, who bore the sin of a man, the author and perfecter, beginning and the end. I am. Yes, I am. Oh, I am. Yes, I am. Has everybody written their checks? Those are all done? Okay, good. I'll just say this. There's some of you maybe say, Mark Schultz, I would love to take you home tonight. You cannot. But I would just say this because it just came out the other day, so I'm so excited about it. That song I just sang. We have a children's book. It's called I Am, and it's that song, and it teaches kids about God and the Lord. And it's a children's storybook. And the reason I have it is because when I rode my bike across the country after we raised $250,000, my wife was like, that was awesome. When are we going to do that again? And I was like, we didn't do that the first time. That was me by myself. And so every year we have like a specialty project that comes out, and half the money goes to orphans and the unborn and widows all around the world. So every time you buy one of these books, it serves here as well as overseas. And so anyway, there's when you walk out in the middle there'll be like some CDs and some shirts, and these books that just came out the other day will be out there. So you can stop by, and I'll be out there to say hi. Anyway, thanks so much for having me. God bless.
All right, well, thank you, Mark. And remember, this is what you're investing in. The stories that you heard tonight, they don't end tonight. They continue on throughout the year, and this is a huge fundraiser for the PCC. So thank you for investing, and continue to think about what you might give well into the future. It's an awesome thing to be a part of, and maybe we can all live in a way where we're saying, I'm in. But what does that look like for you? So hopefully tonight you took a next step forward in doing that. But there's a couple of things I do want you to know right before we leave, and we'll get out of here very shortly. For the table hosts, leave those at your tables. The security team will be around to pick up the checks and envelopes, so make sure to leave them there. There's a couple of things then. Is on November 4th, don't forget the pancake breakfast. The tickets tonight are $5, so make sure to pick those up. And then again, a reminder that Mark has his merch table out here in the lobby. Make sure to swing by there before you leave. And then don't forget, there's some opportunities to volunteer at the PCC. Don't let it just be a fundraiser tonight, but use your time as well. So make sure to get plugged in tonight in one way or another. And as Becca mentioned, as they go to renovate this space and to make more room for more stories, there's going to be 2x4s out in the lobby. Stop by there, write a Bible verse, write some encouraging words. Those are going to be used in the medical room, so make sure to use that and use that opportunity here tonight. And then finally, ladies, don't forget to pick up some flowers on your way out, make a bouquet. Again, thank you guys so much for being here. You guys are awesome. You guys are rock stars for taking the night here to say, I'm in. So let's continue to live this way and have a great evening. We'll see you next year.